All right guys, Jared Friends here at Merit Moco. So if you followed along, you know that we get to work on some pretty gnarly stuff. We feel very, very privileged and excited to have that opportunity and share some of our work with you guys. However, what we have in the shop right here behind me is one of those highlight cars that you always hope and dream about as an enthusiast, that you have the chance to influence and touch. And today, that dream came true. All right guys, so behind me is a 1964 Porsche 904. What's significant about this car, and there's so many really, really neat aspects, and I'm in no way, shape, or form a maven on these cars, so I do suggest if this is something that you're really interested about, jump on the internet, do some quick reading, because there's so much information about these cars, and it's such a significant piece of one, Porsche history, but two, racing history. This car debuted after Porsche has pulled itself out of the F1 racing circuit and started to focus a little bit more on sports car racing in general. So this car manufactured between 64 and 65, however, debuted in late 1963. A lot of them were purchased to be straight race cars, and after they reached that threshold of producing over 100, they opened up the market and people started buying them to drive just as regular leisure cars. So what's really neat about these cars, because there were so few of them made, and they have such a strong pedigree in racing history, and they're so collectible, there's a lot of really great information out there. So based off some preliminary discovery, and again, I'm no market expert, however, this car originally, chassis number 060, was sold to a gentleman in Switzerland. That gentleman didn't race the car, however, he did enjoy it on the street. Fast forward, car then being imported and sold to an avid collector in Pennsylvania, who had fitted this car with a 2.8 RSR engine and had enjoyed it and had made a few other modifications. From there, the car is sold to a gentleman in Oregon who has the car over a 2-year period restored by a specialist in the Portland area. And at the time they'd gone through, taken this car from the orange that it was originally acquired by him in, taking it back to the silver. So after this car spends a few years in Oregon and gets refitted, it sells to none other than Jerry Seinfeld. No soup for you.
No soup for you.
I've waited like years to say that, so I'm sorry. It's just had to do it. Jerry keeps this car for several years, stored in a couple of different areas according to the internet, where it then ends up changing hands in 2023, and the car is delivered to the very competent folks at Road Scholars in Durham, North Carolina. They bring it to Merit Motors for us to do some dry ice cleaning and to go through the car to make sure all the surfaces are just free and clear of contamination so they can do what they do. This car is set to be debuted a little bit later on in the year, and hopefully by the time this video is published, this car will have been seen in the public eye for the first time. So a couple other really neat points about the 904 outside of some of the racing pedigree are some of the styling aspects. So this car was one of the first to be all fiberglass bodied with a ladder chassis, and a lot of the cars were painted silver, one to kind of emulate that aluminum bodied era of racing car, as well as silver being the German national color for sport car at the time, racing cars at the time. So these 904s feature some really neat things, such as this car being the first by Porsche to feature the coilover suspension, moving away from the trailing arm suspension and swing arm rear axles. So by now you guys are probably, one, tired of hearing me ramble on about facts that I loosely know, and two, wondering why in the hell this car is even here in our shop. So again, while I'm not a maven when it comes to the Porsche 904, what I do kind of pride myself in by now after years of running our dry ice equipment is we know our technology and we know our capabilities, and yes, we are car guys. So when you send a car to Merit, you know that you're sending it to guys that live and breathe automotive everything. So we've worked on nearly every type of car and everything in between. And that's really one of the strategic advantages of why people send cars to Merit, is because our knowledge of dry ice and because, well, we're car guys. Case in point, we've had to take this 904 down quite a ways to be able to appropriately clean it. So if you move over here, you can see a couple of things that we've had to, now the car is up on the lift, we've had to pretty much dismantle this car. Here's the Sebring exhaust. Here's one of the front pan valances, rear plate. This entire cover here shrouds the entire bottom back half of the motor. All of those things had to be taken off, cataloged, nuts and bolts cleaned, put into bags, just so we could do what we do with our dry ice equipment. So it's so much deeper than just somebody getting a machine and spraying things down. We have to understand the engineering of how these cars were put together, how things go apart, how things are then going to be reassembled, and make sure that that inclusive package is delivered to our clients on every single car that we touch. All right, so we've had this car in the shop for a couple of days now, and you'll notice this jewelry behind us. Now, we have done dry ice cleaning on this car, and we've gone so far as making sure a lot of these cast parts, a lot of this aluminum, we've gone in and we've actually hand scrubbed them. Look at some of these, you know, these brake lines, these banjo fittings. We go through and try to be as detail oriented as possible with our cleaning services. So it's not just, again, pointing a dry ice gun and cleaning something. There's just so much handwork that goes into the final presentation of something, of anything that we dry ice clean. However, what I enjoy and what you guys are getting a behind the scenes look at right now, which is unbelievable, is what this car looks like virtually naked, right? So this is a fiberglass shell. This car, this is the body. This is pretty much as far as the body comes apart other than pulling the motor. This is the chassis, this is everything. So if you go anywhere to a concourse event, you're gonna see these cars with all their shrouds, all their body work on them, and you don't ever really see the inner workings. This is the skeleton of this car, and damn if it's not just as beautiful on the inside as it is the outside. It almost gives you goosebumps looking at what this car is. As Miller just pointed out, this car's gonna be 60 years old this year. 60. Okay? If you're watching this video and you're 60 and you look this good, good on you, but I'm willing to bet you probably don't. And so when you look at what this car is, how it's designed and how well it's held up, given its purpose throughout history, it's really, really just breathtaking. And it's just such a very neat thing to be a part of in making sure that you are preserving history for future generations. And that's really what we do here at Merit. Yes, we're cleaning cars, but we're also, in a sense, history curators in making sure that these engineering and design marvels are just that, marveled at for the upcoming generations to enjoy and not lose their respect of what our design and what these cars really are. So as I stated earlier, this car has been lightly restored. However, that was years ago, and we've gone through and cleaned all these surfaces. And not that I want to toot my own horn, but I'm definitely going to toot my own horn. So one of our technicians, Mark here, has gone through several days and has really performed great work at cleaning all of these surfaces. I mean, if you look, this is black. There's really no discoloration. So in dry ice, there's obviously different levels and different types of cars that come in, and owners are trying to achieve different things. Because this is such a significant car, our goal is to really make all the surfaces as clean as possible so the good folks over at Road Scholars can then go and do their work and not get dirty everywhere. So you'll notice as we walk around this car after the dry ice cleaning that we've already done, all of these surfaces are free of contamination. However, we haven't compromised any of the painted surfaces, any of the different areas that have any type of, these cast areas. We've been able to get some discoloration out and make those surfaces just appear as original as they would be in the mid-early 60s as they are today in 2024. And that's really special. All All right, so most of the content that you're gonna see out here on the internet is, of dry ice cleaning anyway, is cars that are really dirty that make that huge visual impact of just blasting off undercoating. And while that's great and that's what dry ice is able to accomplish, one of our focuses here at Merit is taking really nice cars and making them as perfect as we possibly can. Mind you, this is quite a significant vintage Porsche that recently sold at auction, and we have just invested several hours into the cleaning of a car that just sold at a high-end auction. So we're taking something that fit and finish and presentation is already very, very well established and taking it to the next level. That's what we do here at Merit. We take investment grade vehicles to the next level. All right, so we're gonna get back to work on this Porsche. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, this car has already been seen by the general public, and I hope that all of you enthusiasts have a chance to look this car over and really just enjoy the design and some of the simplistic, absolutely awe-inspiring features that came out on these cars at the time. If you have something that you would like to have dry ice cleaned, feel free to visit our website or some of our social channels, Merit Moco, www.meritmotorsco.com. Drop us a line, let us know what you have, what you'd like to have worked on, and we'd be more than happy to accommodate.